From mockery to reckoning, the council chamber fell silent as the holographic display flickered to life. Thousands of alien delegates from across the galaxy watched as Earth's classification scrolled across their screens. Negligible species, resource priority level 7. The Galactic Council had officially relegated humanity to the bottom of the interstellar hierarchy. Ambassador Elena Chen clenched her jaw, but maintained the diplomatic smile she perfected over 15 years of service. This wasn't just an insult, it was a death sentence. Level 7 classification meant Earth would be cut off from vital interstellar resources, restricted from expanding beyond its solar system, and subjected to managed development under Council supervision. The Council's decision is final, announced High Arbiter Clorlac, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence as translucent membranes slid across their surface. The Maverian's skin rippled with bioluminescent patterns that conveyed smug satisfaction to any species capable of reading them. Earth has demonstrated insufficient technological advancement and questionable societal stability. Elena's translator implant rendered his subtle skin patterns perfectly, the insult impossible to miss. The Council wasn't just limiting Earth, they were mocking it. "We request reconsideration," Elena said, her voice steady despite the fury building inside her. "Earth has maintained peace for 70 years since first contact. Our technological growth rate exceeds." "The metrics are clear, Ambassador," interrupted Delegate Tizo of the Pelphon hegemony. His crystalline form refracted light across the chamber as he gestured dismissively. "Your species still relies on combustion technologies for nearly 40% of your energy needs. Your genetic modification capabilities are rudimentary at best. Your political unity exists only in name." What the Council failed to understand, what they had always failed to understand, was humanity's greatest strength: adaptation born from adversity. Earth hadn't unified under a single government because of some natural evolutionary path. It had unified because it had no choice. Decades of climate disasters, resource wars, and social upheaval had forged something new from the chaos. The chambers emptied, delegates shuffling past Elena without acknowledgement. Only Vela, the Arcturian observer, paused beside her. "They've made a mistake," Vela whispered, her 4 arms moving in the fluid gestures of her people. "But they won't see it until it's too late." 3 months later, the consequences of the Council's decision began to manifest. Resource shipments to Earth dwindled. Access to advanced medical technologies was restricted. Earth's small fleet of interstellar vessels found themselves blocked from strategic trade routes. Back on Earth, the Global Unity Council convened an emergency session. The meeting took place not in the gleaming halls of New Geneva, but deep underground in Facility Omega, a remnant of 21st-century military infrastructure repurposed for the new crisis. "They've backed us into a corner," said President Okafor, his hologram flickering slightly as it projected from Lagos to the secure chamber. "Level 7 classification means we lose access to 90% of galactic resources within 5 years. Our colony on Mars will collapse without trilithium for their atmospheric generators." Dr. Maya Patel stepped forward, her slight frame belying the intensity in her eyes. Once the world's foremost quantum physicist, she'd abandoned academia 3 years earlier after a breakthrough the scientific community had labeled impossible. "The Council thinks they understand humanity," Maya said, bringing up a holographic display of her own. "They believe we follow predictable patterns of development. That we'll accept their limitations and adapt within the boundaries they've set." A tight smile spread across her face. "They're wrong." The display expanded to show what appeared to be an ordinary communications satellite, one of thousands orbiting Earth. But this one was different. Inside was Maya's life's work, the quantum mesh network. "The QMN isn't just another communications system," Maya explained. "It's a distributed quantum computing architecture that can integrate with any system using principles the Council species don't understand because their technological evolution never required it." Lieutenant General Rodriguez frowned. "What makes you think they can't detect it?" "Because they don't believe it's possible," Maya said simply. The Council species developed quantum technologies through controlled laboratory environments. Humans developed ours through desperation and creative problem-solving. We took shortcuts they consider heretical. We combined technologies they keep separate for religious reasons. We ignored the correct path because we never knew it existed. President Okafor studied the hologram. And this can reverse our situation. Maya shook her head. No, but it can give us leverage. The plan was audacious, perhaps even reckless. But as humanity had learned repeatedly throughout its bloody history, sometimes the only way to survive was to risk everything. Over the next 6 months, Earth appeared to accept its fate. Ambassador Chen delivered formal protests but otherwise complied with the new restrictions. Trade slowly diminished. The Mars colony publicly announced cutbacks and emergency conservation measures. The Council worlds watched with detached interest as humanity struggled, their predictions seemingly validated. Some even expressed surprise at Earth's docile acceptance of its new status. Thorlak, now promoted to Council Overseer for Developing Species, noted in his quarterly report, "The human response demonstrates the accuracy of our assessment. When faced with overwhelming force, they recognize the futility of resistance and adapt to new circumstances. They may yet prove useful as a labor resource for Level 3 operations." What the Council didn't see was Operation Singularity. While Earth's official space program visibly declined, hundreds of small, unremarkable satellites were quietly launched. Each contained a node of Maya's quantum mesh network. Some were disguised as debris. Others piggybacked on legitimate Council transport vessels, detaching unnoticed at predetermined coordinates. Council sensors detected them, of course, but classified them as space junk, unworthy of attention. The Council's arrogance had created their greatest vulnerability. They simply didn't believe humans capable of meaningful resistance. The first indication something was wrong came when the Maverian colony world of Torlos Prime reported anomalies in their atmospheric control systems. Minor malfunctions at first, temperature fluctuations, humidity variances, the kind of issues easily attributed to normal equipment degradation. Then the Pelfin trading hub at Cygnus Station experienced accounting discrepancies. Financial transactions began showing unexplained delays. Resource allocation algorithms produced errors. Across Council space, 1,000 small disruptions bloomed like digital weeds in a manicured garden. None catastrophic, none immediately threatening, all dismissed as isolated incidents. Until they weren't. 9 months after Earth's reclassification, Ambassador Chen requested an emergency council session. The request was initially denied, then reluctantly granted when 17 critical systems across Council space simultaneously experienced technical difficulties. The Council chamber was tense when Alina stepped onto the speaking platform. Gone was her diplomatic smile, replaced with the steady gaze of someone holding a winning hand. "The Council has made an error in judgment," she began, her voice echoing through the suddenly silent chamber. "You classified Earth as negligible because you measured us against your own evolutionary paths. What you fail to understand is that humanity evolved under constant threat of extinction." The holographic display activated, showing not the expected diplomatic presentation, but a real-time map of Council space. Thousands of points of light pulsed in synchronization, each representing a node in the quantum mesh network. "For the past 9 months, we have deployed what we call the quantum mesh network throughout Council territory," Alina continued. "Each node is capable of interfacing with your systems at the quantum level. The technical difficulties you've experienced are merely demonstrations." Forlak rose from his seat, bioluminescent patterns flashing anger across his skin. "This is an act of aggression. The Council will listen," Alina interrupted, her voice steel. "Humanity doesn't want conflict. We want recognition. We want fair treatment. We want the opportunity to contribute to this galactic community as equals, not as servants." As if to emphasize her point, the lights in the Council chamber dimmed momentarily before returning to normal. "Your technological foundation is impressive," Elena acknowledged. But it was built on stability and abundance. Ours was forged through chaos and scarcity. You evolved in environments with predictable challenges. We survived an environment that constantly tried to kill us. The quantum mesh network display expanded, showing its penetration into critical council systems, power distribution, transportation networks, communications arrays, not controlling them, but connected, waiting. Humanity is requesting an immediate reclassification to Level 3 status, with a pathway to Level 2 within 5 years based on objective metrics we will jointly establish, Elena stated. In return, we will share our quantum mesh technology and assist in integrating it with council systems. The council delegates conferred frantically, private communications flying between species. The implications were clear. Humanity had accomplished what they had deemed impossible, and had done so right under their noses. Vila, the Arcturian observer, was the first to speak. "I warned you," she said simply. "Humans don't evolve like we do. They don't build like we do. They don't think like we do." Her forearms gestured toward Elena. They survived their own self-destructive tendencies. They endured centuries of warfare that would have extinguished any of our species. They reached space despite nearly destroying their atmosphere. Her voice took on a note of respect. And when faced with extinction, they didn't submit. They innovated. The silent storm. The emergency council session stretched into its 14th hour. Species that rarely agreed on anything found themselves united in shock and a grudging reassessment of humanity. High Arbiter Korlak had been conspicuously silent since Ambassador Chen's revelation. His bioluminescent patterns had shifted from anger to something less decipherable. When he finally spoke, his voice carried none of its usual condescension. "The Council acknowledges receipt of Earth's petition," he said carefully. "We will require time to verify the extent of this quantum mesh network and assess its implications." Elena nodded. "Of course, we anticipated this response." She tapped her datapad, and new information appeared on the Council's displays. This data package contains the location and specifications of 17 QAnon nodes we've deactivated throughout Council space. Your technicians are welcome to examine them. What she didn't mention was that those 17 nodes were early prototypes, intentionally detectable, designed specifically to be discovered and studied. The true QAnon architecture remained invisible to Council scanning technology. "We request a 72-hour recess," said Delegate Tizo of the Pelfon hegemony, his crystalline form dulled with stress fractures. A physical manifestation of distress in his species. "Granted," Elena replied. "Earth will await your response." As the delegates filed out, Vila approached Elena privately. "They're terrified," the Arcturian confided. "Not just of what you've done, but of what it reveals about their understanding of physics. The Pelfon built their entire civilization on quantum principle certainties that your technology apparently violates." Elena's expression remained neutral. "We don't violate their principles. We just approach them from a different perspective." "A perspective born of desperation," Vila observed. "Necessity is the mother of invention," Elena replied with a small smile. An old human saying. Back on Earth, Dr. Maya Patel monitored the QAnon from Facility Omega. The network was performing beyond even her optimistic projections, integrating seamlessly with Council systems without detection. What had begun as a theoretical defense mechanism had evolved into humanity's most powerful diplomatic tool. "Status report," asked President Okafor, entering the facility's command center. Maya gestured to the holographic display showing the network's reach. "Phase 1 complete. The Council's detecting exactly what we want them to detect. Their engineers are examining our decoy nodes and finding precisely the technology we planted for them to find. And the actual network. Functioning at 97% efficiency. The quantum entanglement matrix is self-stabilizing across interstellar distances, just as the theory predicted. We're everywhere, but nowhere." The president studied the display. "Can they stop it if they decide to respond with force?" Maya shook her head. not without shutting down their own infrastructure. The mesh is too deeply integrated now. It's like trying to remove salt from seawater one grain at a time. And if they call our bluff? Maya's expression darkened. It's not a bluff, Mr. President. If they force our hand, we can execute Protocol Omega. Their systems would interpret their own control signals as attacks. Their defenses would target their own facilities. It would cascade through their entire network. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Okafor said quietly. This is about survival, not revenge. While the Council deliberated, humanity held its breath. The Mars colony continued its conservation efforts, though now with the private knowledge that help was coming. Earth's economy, already adapting to reduced galactic trade, continued its inward focus, developing self-sufficiency technologies that would serve them regardless of the Council's decision. 72 hours later, the Council reconvened. The chamber was subdued, the usual pomp and ceremony notably absent. High Arbiter Thorlak appeared visibly aged, the stress of the crisis etched into his features. 72 hours later, the Council reconvened. The chamber was subdued, the usual pomp and ceremony notably absent. High Arbiter Thorlak appeared visibly aged, the stress of the crisis etched into his features. Ambassador Chen, he began formally. The Council has verified your claims regarding this quantum mesh technology. His skin rippled with reluctant admiration, a pattern Alina's translator captured perfectly. Our experts remain puzzled by certain aspects of its implementation, but its effectiveness is undeniable. Alina stood patiently, waiting for the inevitable compromise. The Council proposes the following. Earth will be reclassified as a Level 4 species immediately, with evaluation for Level 3 status in 2 standard years. In exchange, Earth will deactivate all QAnon nodes in critical Council infrastructure and share the fundamental principles of the technology with the Council Scientific Committee. It wasn't everything Earth had asked for, but it was a start. An acknowledgement that the balance of power had shifted. Earth accepts the reclassification schedule, Alina replied. We will deactivate nodes in critical safety systems as a show of good faith. However, full deactivation will occur only when Earth achieves Level 3 status. She paused, letting the implication sink in. As for sharing the technology, we propose a joint research initiative. Earth scientists working alongside Council experts to develop a unified understanding of quantum manipulation principles. What went unsaid was clear. We won't give you a weapon to use against us. We'll help you understand it together, under mutual supervision. Thorlak conferred briefly with the other senior delegates before nodding. The Council finds these terms acceptable. As the formal agreement was drafted, Delegate Tizo approached Alina privately, his crystalline structure still showing stress fractures. You could have demanded more, he observed. With this QNN, you could have effectively held the Council hostage. Alina's expression remained diplomatic but firm. That's not humanity's way. Tizo's crystalline form refracted light in patterns of disbelief. You've spent your history fighting wars. Your planet bears the scars of nuclear exchange. Your literature glorifies conflict. We know war, Alina acknowledged. We know it intimately. That's precisely why we don't seek it. She met his gaze steadily. Humanity doesn't want dominance, Delegate Tizo. We want partnership. We want to contribute. We want to learn. But you were prepared to fight, he pressed. Always, she admitted. It's how we survived. But surviving isn't the same as thriving. For that, we need peace, just like everyone else. In the months that followed, the Quantum Mesh Initiative became the largest cross-species scientific collaboration in Council history. Maya Patel, now elevated to Earth's chief scientific liaison, led the human contingent. The exchange proved revelatory for both sides. Council scientists discovered that humans had developed quantum manipulation through mechanical means rather than the biological paths most advanced species had taken. Humans, meanwhile, gained insights into quantum sustainability that would have taken centuries to discover independently. 1 year after the crisis, the Mars colony hosted the first Joint Council Earth Summit. The Red Planet, once on the brink of collapse under Council restrictions, now showcased humanity's resilience and adaptation. Delegates toured habitation domes where Terran and off-world plants grew together in carefully maintained ecosystems. They observed solar arrays enhanced with Arcturian efficiency principles. They witnessed firsthand how humans had taken technologies deemed insufficient by Council standards and pushed them beyond their theoretical limitations. In his closing address to the summit, President Okafor captured the essence of humanity's journey. The Council saw weakness in our diversity, our fractious history, our technological patchwork. What they failed to understand was that these apparent weaknesses were the source of our greatest strength. We don't advance along a single path. We explore 1,000 paths simultaneously. We fail often. We argue constantly. But from that chaos emerges solutions that ordered minds might never discover. He gestured to the assembled delegates. We don't ask to be feared. We don't demand to be placed above others. We simply ask to be recognized for what we are. A young species with old souls, carrying the hard-won wisdom of countless failures and the boundless optimism that comes from overcoming them. High Arbiter Clorlac, attending in a gesture of unprecedented respect, offered the Council's formal response. The mistake of the Council was in measuring species by their achievements rather than their potential. In humanity, we now recognize a different kind of intelligence, one forged through adaptation rather than evolution, through crisis rather than stability. His skin rippled with genuine respect, a pattern that needed no translation. The Council acknowledges that diversity of thought is not merely valuable but essential for true galactic progress. Earth has taught us that there are many paths to advancement, and that sometimes the most unexpected route yields the greatest discoveries. As the summit concluded, Vela approached Elena one final time. They still don't fully understand, do they? The Arcturian observed. Understand what? Elena asked. That your QNN was never the true weapon, Vela said. It was just a demonstration, a way to get their attention. The real power of humanity isn't in your technology. Elena smiled. It's in our stubborn refusal to accept limitations. It's in our ability to find hope in hopeless situations. Precisely, Vela agreed. The Council feared what you might do with your technology. They should have feared what you might imagine next. The summit ended not with formal treaties or rigid classifications, but with something far more valuable: mutual respect. Earth remained outnumbered and outgunned by the vast resources of the Galactic Council, but they had earned something no military force could have achieved: recognition that humanity's greatest strength was not in its achievements, but in its potential. And in the silence of space, the quantum mesh network continued its vigil, not as a weapon, but as a reminder that sometimes the most profound revolutions begin not with a bang, but with a whisper.